Well, college basketball season got started on Monday here in Spokane, and 5 days later, both the Gonzaga men's and women's teams are still undefeated. And this afternoon, the ladies have to enjoy home court advantage while they have it because they don't play at home again until Thanksgiving weekend. They'll try to go 2 for 2 today in a game with real upset potential as they host Southern Utah. Well, it's so great to have you with us this afternoon with the great Amanda Smith. I'm Greg Talbot. And Amanda, Gonzaga looked like they were in midseason form on Thursday against Long Beach State, no question about it. Everybody looked good. Yvonne Ejim, though, was really something.
Yeah, she's a player that we are going to be looking at so much this season. Crazy to me that she started one game last year, and now she's going to be such an important key component of this Gonzaga basketball team for reasons like that. She is a threat in the post position, a player that's tough to guard. And guess what? She's got the length as well. I love her defensive effort. It's something that's maybe more impressive to me than her offensive game, which is saying a lot.
Yeah, she was fantastic last year. She is a leader on the team this year for sure. As for Southern Utah, this is really a program in transition. They've been playing in the Big Sky Conference for about a decade, came back to their traditional home, the WAC, this year so they could relaunch football. But more importantly about them today, they have a face from Spokane that a lot of people are going to recognize. Tamika Whitman, she was a star on the Central Valley basketball team here in Spokane a couple years ago. She was part of that national championship team with the Hull sisters, and now here she is coming back home as Southern Utah's leading scorer.
How fun to come back and be able to play in your hometown in front of a crowd that maybe will have some familiar faces to her as well, but a transfer from Idaho State, like you mentioned, the team's leading scorer right now. And the Big Sky's reigning defensive player of the year. She is someone who has the ability to play at multiple positions on the floor. And I think that Gonzaga defensively is going to have to know exactly where she is.
Well, the T-Birds beat New Mexico earlier this week, and New Mexico had been picked to finish second in the Mountain West. So Southern Utah's no joke. We'll see if they can put a scare into the Zags this afternoon. It's basketball time in the kennel next on the WCC Network on Stadium. Well, we've got quite the atmosphere back this afternoon in Spokane. Washington, Gonzaga, and Southern Utah, game 2 of the season for the Zags. Number 3 for Southern Utah. Greg Talbot, Amanda Smith with you this afternoon here on Stadium. So great to have you with us, and let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Southern Utah Thunderbirds. We had a last-second addition. Doherty is going to start today, Amanda. What kind of team is this?
I think that this is going to be a really great opponent for Gonzaga. You know, early in non-conference, you want to play hard competition, and I think that Southern Utah is going to be that for them. They're very dynamic. They're a very big team, and they can do a lot. They can shoot. They can take it inside. I think that their main kind of, I would say, strength is on the defensive end.
No kidding about it. So Tracy Sanders, the head coach of Southern Utah, bringing them into this new era as they re-enter their traditional home in the Western Athletic Conference with a couple other teams like Sam Houston, Abilene Christian from that part of the country. As for the Gonzaga Bulldogs, we have the same lineup we have seen in the exhibition and in Game 1.
Yeah, why fix it if it isn't broken, right? Isn't that the old saying?
Sure.
They have been playing phenomenally together, and I think that, you know, it's a new group that is playing minutes together, and it's going to take some time to all adjust and figure out where everyone is on the court, but we've seen these amazing glimpses of especially Kaylee and Kaylin Trong finding Yvonne Ejim, you know, on the fast break, so I'm excited to see that continue in this one.
Maud Hypens and Brianna Maxwell will come in off the bench in service of Lisa Fortier. Can you believe it? This is her 9th season at the helm at Gonzaga. It feels like it's flown by. She has been so remarkable. Her team looked great on Thursday, and her team is now on the floor. It's going to be Lizzie Williamson for Southern Utah going up against the 6'1" Yvonne Ejim. And no big surprise, Williamson controls the tip for Southern Utah. And here we go. Out top, this is Doherty. Over on the side now to Belena. It's funny, we're looking at these teams on the floor here, Amanda, as the jumper is up and good right away from Megan Jensen. Southern Utah is a tall team. 7 out of their 11 rotation players are 5'10" or above.
They're tall, they're big. I think it's going to be really important for Gonzaga to own the glass in this one, to really know when the shot goes up, let's box out, let's go for the offensive rebounds. And then Southern Utah, they're a team, they also like to push and run in transition.
Really good board there by Doherty. 11 points a game last year, second on the team, and clearly also good at rebounding. Around the screen to Belena. Doherty out top, 10 to shoot on their second possession of the afternoon. Puts up the J. No good. A strong rebound by Jensen. She has their first points. Tied up in the paint. And we'll get a jump there.
That's kind of what I was talking about, right? We saw it with Jensen and the offensive rebound. When the ball goes up, they have size, they have height. You've got to box out and find out where the ball is.
Not only does Southern Utah have height, Amanda, they're also a team that has experience, right?
Yeah.
8 out of these 11 players are either redshirt juniors or older. In fact, their whole lineup is just juniors, seniors, and then 3 freshmen. That's their whole roster.
And experience, even if you haven't necessarily played on a team together, just playing, having that collegiate experience is important.
One more coming for Gonzaga and a chance to take the lead in the early going here. Into the free throw line comes Eliza Hollingsworth. Did not factor in much as a starter last year, but considering her size and considering some of the taller players left in the aftermath of last year, Amanda, they are really counting on Eliza to be a huge player for them.
Yeah, and she's someone that Lisa Fortier talked about being a leader, which is maybe not necessarily a comfortable role for her. She said, she's not really an outspoken leader, but she saw the need and has really stepped up.
She was the one who made the preseason speech during Numerica Fan Fest a couple weeks ago to the fans, and as that's a turnover to a GU side. Traditionally, the player that you ask to do that speech to the entire arena, that's someone who you count on to be a captain.
Absolutely.
One of the more interesting things about this Gonzaga starting lineup that we didn't really have time to talk about at the beginning of the broadcast, Amanda, is the fact that we, for the first time, as we have this one going back the other way, shot won't count. For the first time, really, we have both Trong sisters starting together in the starting lineup. Last year, Kay Lee was the one, and then Kaylin took over as the starting point guard temporarily when Kay Lee got hurt in that Hawaii tournament over the holidays last year. Oh, and Kaylee gets absolutely hit hard by Sharita Doherty here. But how do you think that's going to work, seeing two true identical twins in the starting lineup together? Is that something that's going to be super unique and super interesting, or could they maybe use that off the bench? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a little too early to say, to be honest. This is just the second non-conference game. So I think that this is the time to kind of try, see what works. Losing 4 starters, there is going to be an adjustment. I don't know if moving forward this is going to be the same starting lineup that we see 6, 7 games from now, but that's okay. You want to figure it out before we get to February.
Here's Michaela Williams over to Kaylee Trong. Feeds down to Ejim. She was so great against Long Beach State on Thursday. Goes up. We have the ball going back off of Southern Utah. No foul. But man, was Yvonne Ejim just sensational against Long Beach State. 22-10. Her first game as a day 1 of the year starter for this team. Just amazing as Kaylin Trong gets the jumper to go down.
That mid-range jumper is a hard shot. I'm always so impressed. That's a shot that we know that she can knock down. And I'm always so impressed when players can do it because it's not easy.
Here's Belena. A couple of Pacific Northwest gals on the Southern Utah team, by the way. She's from Kent, Washington. And that was Doherty whose shot won't go. She's from Vancouver, just across the river from Portland. So they recruit up here as well. Ejim, they collapse in on her. Hollingsworth catches the free ball. Third opportunity, that'll be a foul on Tamika Whitman.
Already, though, Southern Utah's bigs giving some pressure to Gonzaga. They're going to have to use, their own size and strength. And even when, the Thunderbirds kind of collapse in on them, I'd love to see them at moments begin to kick it out, force the defense to rotate. That way you have some separation and spacing and maybe have another look on the inside.
Were you a little surprised at how aggressively and how quickly they chose to collapse there? I mean, they're going to leave some Zags open on the perimeter, and as we saw against Long Beach State, they can shoot from out there.
Yeah, I think, the last couple plays down, though, they have done that and they've been successful. So until Gonzaga starts to move the ball, try to shoot those shots from the outside, and then if they start knocking them down, of course, you have to defensively adjust. But right now, what they're doing is working.
We'll stay with Southern Utah. Johnston was asking for a foul, didn't end up getting it. And here's Doherty on the inbound. Elena led the team in assists last year. Look how she slashes. Goes to the rim and gets some points, though. And breaks a 7-0 run for Gonzaga. One of the funny things about getting both the sisters to start together is Hollingworth puts up a J that goes down. Can you believe it, Amanda? Kaylee and Kaylin Trong ended with the same stat line on Thursday against Long Beach State.
That's just a twin thing.
It really
has
is.
to be,
It
right? Just connected. So connected that you almost have identical lines.
Here comes Kaylee Trong. Able to finish with the left. Ready to keep away a running down De La Belena. And over on the scorer's table, ready to check in Brianna Maxwell and Mott Hybens. And as far as we know, Amanda, that's really going to be the extent of the core rotation this year. With Breece Allenbine hurt for who knows how long, it's probably just going to be 7.
And we will have to see. I would be interested as time goes on. Do they start to pull? Do they even try to get, like 3 to 5 minutes from someone else off the bench? Because in watching them in practice, this is a team that wants to run a lot, and they're not necessarily at their full capacity of being able to play a full 40 at high speed, right? That's something that they know and that they're still working on. So while they're getting there, who's able to come in and kind of relieve off the bench?
Would not be surprised to see Peyton Muma start picking up minutes as the season goes on. She's going to be the future point guard as the current point guard, Kaylee Trong, gets it for 2.
I mean, she just keeps finding a way to get to the rim. It's so impressive. I love moves off the dribble that can just get you there.
Samantha Johnson with a gutsy 3-point shot that time, and Strong back the other way. Early double-digit lead for the Zags. Down low. Mott Hybens is tangled up with Tamika Whitman. And Belena will have the foul that time for Southern Utah. Here's Michaela Williams, one of the great wings in the West Coast Conference this year, and gets it on the run.
So impressive to be able to use your length to shoot over the top of 2 tall defenders.
I love seeing her get aggressive early on in this game here, Amanda, because she only took 4 shots on Thursday against Long Beach State.
Yeah, and I think that the best way to kind of like build your confidence a little bit is just to take it straight at the rim.
Seems to be working for the Zags. 16-2 run recently. More importantly, they are shooting 60% from the field right now. 6 for 10 in the first 5 minutes. Doherty down low, tangled up. And Hisham and Strong ran into each other, and they give it back to the Thunderbirds. Doherty has not been shy about pulling and getting involved so far, although she's 0 for 2 from the field, and Williamson down low.
Great find. I think that is where Southern Utah can be successful, right? They're struggling early on shooting. Hit your posts.
In Williamson, that's the one they're going to look for all day. They have to. I mean, she's 6'5", as that one won't go from Williams, and she gets the rebound there. She does it all. 19 points, 13 boards against New Mexico in their first game of the year. She's phenomenal.
Yeah, they just tried to hit her again. Granted, this one is going to be a foul. I thought it was going out of bounds, but play wasn't over.
And that'll take us to our first break of the afternoon. Zags by 10 in the early going on the WCC Network on Stadium. Well, you never know exactly what your team is going to look like as we welcome you back early in the season. One of the great things about this Gonzaga team here, Ashley, is they know what they have coming off the bench, which is Brenda Maxwell. She has already proven through a sterling career in the Pac-12 at Utah what she can be. Came off the bench against Long Beach State, 14-6. She is so good off the bench.
Yeah, currently averaging 12 points a game, 3 rebounds, which I think, let's pay attention to that stat line specifically, because rebounds are something that Lisa Fortier mentioned coming into this season. She was really focused in working on. We know that she is an offensive player. She has one of the quickest releases I have ever seen in the game of basketball. And I think that she's just going to be this amazing addition to Gonzaga. She fits into their style of play, which is let's push, let's run, let's shoot, let's score at a very high and fast rate.
That's Trong at the free throw line. She missed her first. You got to think she's going to be an immediate WCC Sixth Man of the Year contender, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, probably almost, maybe not
Come
a
on,
lock after
easy.
one game, but pretty close, right?
No, her impact You know, you can just see it every time that she's on the court.
Yep.
If you need a bucket, hit Brenna. And I think that she's just going to continue to be this growing piece on the defensive end as well. When she was at Utah, that's something that she really focused on, was trying to improve her defensive game, and I think it's just going to continue here at Gonzaga.
It's Williamson for 2 down low. They continue to feed her, and they will for the rest of the game, no doubt about it. So in case you're not familiar with this new Gonzaga look, including Brenda Maxwell, who's hanging out looking for a look in the corner right now from Trong, transferred to the University of Utah. She was honorable mention all Pac-12 while she was there, as Williams puts up a J and gets it down for 3. Having her and Maxwell kind of working the perimeter as wings is going to be huge for this team in terms of the different things they can do during the course of a game.
Absolutely. And you know, it's kind of like a homecoming in a way for her too. Brenna Maxwell from Gig Harbor, Washington.
Yeah.
Her parents, I know, are somewhere in the stands here. They're only going to miss like 2 games this season. When she was at Utah, they traveled all across Pac-12 country. Did not miss a game.
A little closer here than Salt Lake City to Gig
Yes,
Harbor over
right?
on the west side.
Like kind to your family. Hey, I'll just transfer. You guys can drive sometimes.
A great dish off the bounce to Eliza Hollingsworth from Trong. That one's going to end up on the highlight reel tonight for sure.
Already 5 assists for Gonzaga on 8 made shots, moving the ball, playing together, doing what's working. I'm just obsessed right now with this team. I'm obsessed.
Who wouldn't be? Both of the Trong sisters, 6 assists against Long Beach State. Not total, 6 apiece. Thursday night was fun, wasn't it?
Yes, right? It's like you kind of get like a little glimpse into what's to come, and then it's over. And you don't really have another like sample until games keep going.
Williams another 3. Just a little bit off to the right, but again, you love seeing her take so many shots in the first quarter. Because she didn't do a lot against Long Beach State on Thursday, you can tell she's trying to get in and trying to get it going.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier. I love, though, you know, in trying to build that confidence, she maybe didn't have a lot of attempts against Long Beach State, but drive into the bucket. Build your confidence that way. Start out with shots that you know are fairly simple and easy, and then, you know, work your confidence up in your way back.
Kaylin Trong. A little bit long also, so we were talking briefly there about the Gonzaga rotation. Look who is just in off the bench, Callie Stokes. So took a red shirt last year, now she's a redshirt freshman, finally seeing some minutes. She's pretty tall for a guard, 5'11", out of California, but they really like the possibility of her as a 2 starting really next year.
Yeah, she's a player that Lisa Fortier said she just loves her style, where she's like, she loves being coached. She's kind of like that player that's like, tell me what to do, I'll go do it. She just loves her style of play, and I think it's kind of how I mentioned earlier, going to be important to have players like that you're able to sub in off your bench, give kind of those players that are going to have extended minutes at least a little bit of a break with the pace that they want to play this year, and just be, you know, have that depth.
Callie Stokes and Peyton Muma, the future, along with Bree Salenbine when she's back from injury, of what the future front court of this team is going to look like when the Trong era is over. Excellent cut from Whitman. And a save by Callie Stokes off the bench.
Southern Utah, they're getting good looks at the basket. They're just not shooting well right now. 4 of 12 from the floor.
Also importantly, 0 for 4 from 3. That's a yikes. Hollingsworth feeds Ejim. Little hard that time. Oh, Maxwell, yes!
Swoop in. There's the rebounds I'm talking about, okay?
You love having a tall guard in the women's basketball game. A 6-foot guard is not something you always see, but when they can shoot and they can run, they just open up so many possibilities offensively.
And she's such a competitor. She's kind of like that feisty spirit. If you need something done, you know that you can count on Maxwell to be there.
One of the funny things is, again, we mentioned that she's a transfer this year in from Utah. A lot of the time in college basketball, it takes a little while to get integrated into an offense and defense with chemistry. Did not take any time at all as Ejim gets it to go. Maxwell just fit in from night 1.
Yeah, And I think that it kind of goes back to what I mentioned. You know, Gonzaga, the style right now that they want to play, which is let's push the ball, let's get shots up, she fits in very well too.
Doherty, excellent move, just a little underneath it. Maxwell. Did a great job creating her own shot, and then Callie Stokes to follow.
I talked about it earlier, owning the glass, getting the O-boards. Oh, just having players that you can rely on, knowing that they're going to be there, that they're not just running back to the other end of the court. It's so important to have, and we're seeing something really special just 2 games into the basketball season.
Hollingsworth, great knocked away. Stokes looking up court for Maxwell. 10 to shoot in the game. Quarter, rather. Our first game of the year, too.
Apparently.
Our first game of the year. Ejim,
started.
you bet. Now that is a first quarter for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. 31-8 over a strong Southern Utah team. We'll take a break and we're back in a second on the WCC Network on Stadium. Okay, just a remarkable first quarter all around for the Zags. 31-8, they're up over Southern Utah. But man, Eliza Hollingsworth coming out with a bang, Amanda.
I know, and I love that we talked about the fact that she is looked to as a leader on this team. She's a very relatable player. Someone that Lisa Fortier said, you know, can relate to all situations that different players have been in, whether they've redshirted, whether they have, you know, not started, they've sat out, they think they want to earn more minutes, whatever it is. So to see her really stepping up on the offensive end is just phenomenal.
Atlanta for 3, good looking in Southern Utah. Going to give it a run here in the second quarter. Just a couple of numbers to highlight at the end of one here, Amanda. Rebounds, man, 14-5. As if that wasn't bad enough for the Thunderbirds. Gonzaga shooting 57%. It's only 28 for SUU.
And can I just like throw in here really quick as another triple is knocked down? That Yvonne Ejim, that was her first made career 3-pointer at Gonzaga.
Pretty great.
I love it. It's raining. It's raining buckets around here.
This is a team that likes to shoot threes, as that one went down from Kaylee Trong. That's their 4th of the afternoon already. They had 6 in the first half on Thursday against Long Beach State. So that one's a little hard from Williamson. I love they continue to feed her. It feels like she's got more points, but she's just got 4.
Well, and that kind of circles back to the fact that Southern Utah, they're struggling shooting right now. 5 of 16 from the floor. That's just 31%. You have to look at Utah's percentages, though, when you look at the score of this game. 59% shooting.
Von Ejim. Seven points, 3 for 5 shooting so far. Knocked down a 3 earlier, and she gets better as the game goes along. If you haven't seen her play before, that's one of the things to know about her. Not true of every player in college basketball, but it is for Vonnie. Hollingsworth had a little space there against Williamson. Almost made her pay. At the Doherty. Mid-range jumper, no good off the front of the rim, and a strong board by Hollingsworth.
They're getting good open looks. Right now, there's just a struggle on the offensive end.
Up and under from Ejim, no. And with the rebound there by Banks, who's getting her first run of minutes, another center. They've got 3 on this roster. Banks is 6'5", the freshman center out of Boise. A foul on what looks like Stokes there. You know, actually, it's funny that they now put Banks in because at least right before the game started, Amanda, it looked like they were going to run 3 centers out there.
And they still could at some point.
Sure.
But I think that, you know, kind of a number to mention that we talked about that was going to be important was rebounds. Southern Utah, they have just 7 as opposed to Gonzaga's 16 right now. So the Zags owning the glass, kind of doing those gritty plays that you really want to see from your team.
Which, if you're a Zags fan, is pleasantly surprising, again, considering how tall Southern Utah is. 7 out of their 11 rotation players are 5'10" or above.
And if you notice, though, when they're hitting that post player, you have multiple Gonzaga players meeting them there, arms up. It's like they know that they have size on them, so let's work together.
Doherty trying to go one-on-one with Williams. Little short that time, no foul, good hands up defense down low. Here's Ejim on the other end.
I hope we see a lot of that this season.
The passing was getting you going earlier. How about that one?
I know. I kind of mentioned like that exact play almost earlier.
Yeah.
Just running in transition, and I think that this is where Gonzaga is going to be really successful, not just in this game, but this year, right? Rebounding, boxing out, and then bam, let's get out and run, push the basketball.
Air ball 3 there by Johnston, and Doherty there to collect. She's been all over the floor. Another chance here from Johnston. Her second of the possession. That one way short. And we had a shot clock violation. One thing worth noting here as we start to approach the midway point of the second quarter, Tamika Whitman, leading scorer on Southern Utah, scoreless today.
And that's clearly on the scout, right? Like, you come in, you know that she's a dynamic player, she's a great defender, an offensive threat. Hasn't really been that efficient so far in this game. I think we're going to see an offensive adjustment coming out of the half from Southern Utah. Right now it seems like they're playing at the pace of Gonzaga. I think we're going to see them maybe settle in a little bit more.
Sure.
But still, give credit to Gonzaga's defense for knowing exactly where she is, which is what we talked about they needed to do.
Von Ejim after that basket, by the way, into double figures. She's got 11 points already on 5 for 8 shooting. On her way to another 20-point afternoon, if we had to guess.
Why stop at 20? Go for 30.
Why not? Williams on the tip away. Here comes Trong, looking for someone else to go 3-on-2 with. She'll follow. Williams there, and she's got it. And Southern Utah is going to call for a timeout there, and why wouldn't they? It's 42-11 here in Spokane. We'll take a break on the WCC Network on Stadium. Well, Kaylee and Kaylin Trong both off to great starts this afternoon in their own way. Kaylee Trong in specific, in addition to 8 points, already 5 assists and 4 rebounds. The funny thing is, you know Kaylin's going to get going because she has to, because look how similar their stats always are.
The twin magic from Thursday night. So yes, Kaylin will meet her there.
Yes.
You know, it's bound to happen.
She always does.
Yes.
One of the awfully funny things about last year when Kaylee was temporarily injured coming off that Hawaii tournament, she had however many it was points and assists per game on her average. That's when Kaylin started in her place at the point guard spot. Kaylin, not surprisingly, over the course of the next 4 or 5 games, when Kaylee was out, met her exactly at her points and assists per game mark. It was remarkable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like that little. That's like that twin thing going on.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It's a real thing.
It's scary. Yeah.
My best friends are twins. I know it's a real thing.
Jensen no good. Maxwell back into the game. Good rebound there. Destiny Burton in for her first run of minutes. As that one won't go from Kaylee Trong. Nice rebound by Burton. Goes up. No foul called on Doherty. Ashley, you spent quite a bit of time with this team coming into this season. Destiny Burton, one of the few new faces. This is largely a team that came back from last year. Destiny Burton, what do they see her bringing?
Well, I think that she's just going to be another one of those players that they can look to come in off the bench, provide exactly what she just came in and did. Rebounding, you know, looking to go up strong, kind of work in that post position. I just think it's going to be really important for the style of play that we have seen kind of through practice, through an exhibition game and a first non-conference matchup, and then already in this one. The style they want to play is fast, they want to run, and to do that, you have to be able to go deep into your bench.
Destiny goes back to the bench. Mott Hybens as well. And here's Megan Jensen again. So funny to think about the fact that very clearly, Ashley, we talked at the top of the broadcast about how this is their first year back in the Western Athletic Conference. Obviously, they haven't gotten back into conference play yet. That won't come for another few weeks as Williams gets a jumper to go down. But obviously, they made that move, by and large, as so many schools do, kind of based off of football, because the WAC wanted to restart football, and they wanted to have a good competitive men's basketball conference as well. But it's never just the football team, right, that gets affected. It is all these other sports that changes leagues, that changes the culture of the leagues. You have to imagine that plays a kind of interesting role in the headspace of these players coming into the season, because you're not getting ready for the same teams that you've been playing the last 10 years.
It's new. It's different. It's going to be an adjustment to not just, have these games and play with new players, but like play in a new conference. That's a lot. They were picked to finish 6th in the WAC. So I think, it's just going to take some time. I hate like saying that so much, but it's hard early on to kind of say like, no, this is what's going to happen. Like, we're not there yet. I think that both of these programs have time to learn to still grow and adjust. Did the net move?
Barely.
Okay,
Barely.
just sorry. I have contacts, so it's hard for me to see sometimes. Whoa.
And Maxwell all of a sudden all over the floor now that she's back in for her next run of minutes.
Their 21st rebound. Once again, pushing down the floor and then going for the 3.
Williamson on the other end in transition, nice, and Maxwell did what she could, Amanda, but couldn't quite get there in time. And again, 6'5", that's just a whole different thing. Down low, Ejim. She's been red hot and keep it going. 13 points for Vani. In 13 minutes on the floor, by the way.
I know, right? It's like we start to look at these numbers and dive into them further. She's been phenomenal. We know that she's a really strong post player. Still kind of hung up on that 3-point shot because she has talked about wanting to expand her game and really like be a threat at different levels. So if you are a post player that can run, right? Like we see her run down the floor. And then not just that, but be able to step out and shoot from the perimeter, to be able to get into passing lanes. Like, you are just a threat.
Go off, Queen. Speaking of faces who are looking to make an impact this year, Peyton Muma in off the bench, getting some minutes here at point guard as we get ready to close out the half for Gonzaga. There she is, guarding Belena. Redshirt freshman point guard out of Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Tipped away, and here comes Williams, who's also been great in this first half. 9 points already for her. And they'll take their time as they try to get across the 50-point mark. Hollingsworth, what a move. Gives it up for Williams. And makes good. 12 points for Michaela Williams. Zags over the half-century mark. What a first half. Southern Utah, 14 points.
It's fun when you get to play like the style that you want. Southern Utah, they're allowing Gonzaga to play exactly how they want to, which is they try to hit the post players. If it's not there, bam, kick it out, knock it down from the 3.
Burton back in and getting her first run of minutes this afternoon. Esther Little, sophomore guard out of England. And Michaela Williams and Ivani Ejim over to the bench, getting a standing ovation from a couple of the fans behind the bench for their first half effort.
I love it. They deserve it.
No kidding.
They
Ejim
earned
13.
it.
Yep. Vani 13 points and 12 for Michaela. That one no good from Belena. Well, this has been quite the first half for Gonzaga. No one exactly knew how this game was going to go because, again, Southern Utah beat New Mexico in their opener. New Mexico is a good team, picked to finish second in the Mountain West Conference. I think a lot of us thought that SUU would, I don't know, maybe be within 10 or 15 by halftime.
But I think we have to give credit to Gonzaga right now. They're like, if there was a game plan and we got to see it for this game, it's exactly what's happening.
Yep.
They're rebounding. They're in the passing lanes. They're creating steals for themselves. Southern Utah, a team that turns over the ball at a high rate coming into this game. That average was 22 turnovers a game, right? So, like, we're watching develop exactly what we knew that they needed to do to be successful.
Here's Muba to inbound. What a great move to a cutting Hollingsworth around the knob. Burton goes up hard. Second chance, no. Williamson there to collect, and they'll push. Tamika Whitman can't get it to go down. Still scoreless in her hometown homecoming game. That is one of the real true successes of this first half scouting attack for Gonzaga, is keeping the star player for this team scoreless.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised on that last play that she pulled up for that mid-range jumper instead of maybe just doing some sort of hesitation move, some sort of combo move off the dribble, because she can. She's a very, very good offensive player. Instead, just settling for kind of that mid-range shot.
Brick that one as well, but a 5-second differential between the game clock and the shot clock. Whitman again, just off. I'll tell you this, though, I love that she keeps trying. I think she thinks once she breaks the seal that it'll start going.
They need her to.
Yeah.
They need her to keep shooting, and they need her to get going.
It's going to be quite the hill to climb in the second half already.
Yeah. Crazier things have been done, though. So for Gonzaga, you can't let up on any of the pressure that you have put on them through 2 quarters.
All right, 10 to go in the half. Here's Muma. Around Belena looking for an angle. No go from Hollingsworth. Maxwell goes up. No foul called, and they will call that as the end of the first half here in Spokane. Well, can you believe that? At the end of 2 quarters, the Bulldogs 52, Southern Utah 15. The stats are out of this world. We cannot wait to show you those and a lot more on the other end of this commercial break. So Gonzaga rolling over Southern Utah. The Thunderbirds, their first year in the RAC, really trying to get it going in the second half. We'll talk about how they can do that and a lot more on the other side of the break. This is West Coast Conference basketball this afternoon on the WCC Network on Stadium. Well, that was quite the first half of college basketball at the end of 20 minutes. The Gonzaga Bulldogs 52 and the Southern Utah Thunderbirds 15 as we welcome you back courtside. Amanda Smith, Greg Talbot. Amanda, we came into this game thinking that it might be competitive, and it might be in the second half, but Gonzaga's game plan, whatever it was, is working gangbusters.
I think that the game plan coming into this game is being executed so incredibly well. It starts on the glass. The rebounds right now for Gonzaga are insane.
Yeah.
27. For reference, they had 38 last game against Long Beach State, so they're like more than halfway there. And then, knowing the rate that Southern Utah turns over the ball, they're in the passing lanes. They're doing everything that they need to do what they want, which is push the ball in transition and score on the other end.
Speaking of Southern Utah, also important, they have kept their leading scorer, Tamika Whitman, scoreless in the first half. Just amazing.
And I think that coming into the second half, we're going to continue to see her put up shots. I don't think that she's going to go scoreless in this game because she has to score if Southern Utah wants to try to chip away and kind of cut into this insane lead that the Zags have right now. But at least continuing to contain what she is able to do on the offensive end.
Well, this is game number 2 of the season only for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Let's take a look at what's coming up a little bit later on in their non-conference schedule. They are at Wyoming. Wyoming was here last year, so it's the back end of a home-and-home that they had arranged. Then the battle for Atlantis, absolutely classic. Next home game, not until Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend, Eastern Washington. But, of course, local rivalry, they always play, so fun.
Sad. You know, I'll miss you until then. Personally, I think that we should go to the Bahamas. We should go to the Battle of Atlantis.
I think they should pay us.
Thank
I agree.
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at this bracket. Just like other big-name Thanksgiving and Christmas tournaments, they just recruit great teams. Look at some of these. UCLA, Texas, Marquette, Louisville. They're going to get 3 good games truly no matter what.
Well, and I think that this is kind of just reiterating what I already said, but I think is so important, is playing these tough opponents early on in your season that expose your weaknesses, but also show your strengths so that you can come back, you can settle in before conference play starts, and then by the time it gets to February, you're set.
No kidding. So that's going to be a fun one. You can track Gonzaga women's basketball, by the way, on the WCC network and all these different web streams and TV broadcasts all over the place. Easier than ever to follow Gonzaga basketball. It's always on the GoZags.com website. No matter where you want to watch them, it's always available. It's always there. We are available on the other side of this commercial break as the halftime show rolls on. Gonzaga steamrolling Southern Utah at the break, 52-15 on the WCC network on Stadium. Yeah, that halftime score is not incorrect. Gonzaga 52, Southern Utah 15 as we welcome you back to the Kennel in Spokane on the WCC Network on Stadium. Greg Talbot, Amanda Smith with you as we get a second to take a look at some of these first half highlights. And, you know, we did see a little bit of back and forth at the beginning of this game, Amanda. The first 3 minutes, Southern Utah got some shots down as Gonzaga responded, but then after that, I don't even know what to tell you. The numbers are just impossible.
Yeah, I think that, you know, the first 3 minutes of any basketball game are kind of like settling in. Okay, we scouted the team, we know our opponent, we know the game plan, and then I'm just so impressed by the execution level of Gonzaga in this game. I think it's really started here with Kaylee Trong and her 5 assists, and I want to talk about that because Gonzaga, they've totaled 14 assists on 21 made shots.
Amazing.
They are sharing the basketball. They are working together. They're knocking it down from the outside. And then they're also finding ways to convert and to move the ball, creating separation for everyone on the offensive end.
You mentioned the three-pointers. They are shooting 50% from 3 as a team. They are 6 for 12, and they're really spreading it out. In fact, only one player has more than 1 3. That's Michaela Williams. She had 2, and she's got 12 points. By the way, first quarter, 31-8 scoring. Second quarter, 21-7 scoring. Just amazing. The Zags just kept their foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah, and they're feeling it right now on the offensive end, and I don't think that it's just coming from the perimeter. I love what they're doing on the inside as well. And sometimes, you know, I want to reference, they were shooting 57% from the floor in the first quarter. Sometimes that is very, very good. Okay, if you don't know that, that is very, very high. You see that number kind of shy down into like those mid-30s, 50% in the second. Consistency, and I think that that's going to be a key component moving forward for this team.
Some pretty remarkable first half stats that Amanda's talking about. We will talk about that and more on the other side of the break on the WCC Network on Stadium. Beautiful night back here in Spokane inside the McCarthy Athletic Center, and especially beautiful if you are a fan of this Gonzaga women's basketball team. Second home game of the year. They are running over the Southern Utah Thunderbirds 52-15. Your halftime score. Just remarkable, but these numbers, some of these numbers, Amanda, I don't even know where to start.
Okay, I'll help you.
You want to start?
Yeah, I can start.
Yeah.
I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but 54% field goal percentage is phenomenal. I think that a good shooting night for any team would be somewhere from 32 to 38%. That is high. 54 throughout your quarters, come on. Holding Southern Utah to 21%, they've only made 6 shots in this game. They're 1 of 10 from three-point range. But I think what maybe is most impressive to me is the points in the paint.
Yeah.
26 for Gonzaga, knowing the size, you talked about it, Greg, the height of this Southern Utah team, just 8 points in the paint for them. So game plan, right? Don't let the bigs get to work for the Thunderbirds. Gonzaga doing a great job defensively as well.
Yeah, they truly have not let the bigs get to work, really. I mean, Williamson, she's 6'5", the redshirt junior center. She had 19 and 13 against New Mexico in game 1. And here she is, Amanda, and she's not been bad, but 6 points, and she hasn't really gotten going. In fact, nobody really has for Southern Utah. She's their leading scorer. Nobody has more than 6 points for them.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, just on the offensive end from Gonzaga, 26 points in the paint, that is just about a little over, if not, I'm not great at math off the top of my head, okay?
Same.
But that is about half of your points are coming from the inside. That's phenomenal, right? So it's like working, doing all of the things that you want to, getting your bigs going, the posts are getting to work, and then guess what? Now if Southern Utah's collapsing, they're feeling it from the perimeter, they're getting everyone involved, and that's a real luxury to have on a basketball team.
Rebounds, by the way, just incredible, 27-14. This is a team that they've got some tall folks on this team, but in fact, the last couple of years, they were taller. So the fact that this group, which is not the tallest in the WCC, is ripping down this many rebounds, it's a really good sign of things to come.
And this Southern Utah team, you know, we talked about it, Greg. They're a great rebounding team.
Yeah,
Coming into this game, they had pulled down a total of 125 boards in 2 games. So that is something that we know that they're good at. And Gonzaga has really kind of like taken it away and said, no, this is our house.
Yes.
This is our glass. This is our game.
All right, so let's see who the Zags are throwing out there. Both the Trong twins, Michaela Williams, Eliza Hollingsworth, and Yvonne Ejim. So the starting 5 are back in for the Zags. By the way, the halftime stats for those starting five: Kaylee Trong, 8 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Eliza, 10 points. Ejim, 13 points. Williams, 12 points. Kaylin Trong, just 2 points. Only took 2 shots, by the way, in the first half. So I imagine she'll want to get going in half number 2 with more looks.
But like that luxury, right? Like you're saying those numbers. That is depth. You want to have that. You don't want to just have like 1 or 2 players that are kind of your go-to scorers, because that's easy to scout. It's easy to guard. You want to have threats at every single position.
Great kick to the corner. Around and off from Whitman. She's been trying to get going. Again, in case you weren't with us at the beginning of the game, hometown gal from Spokane, Central Valley High School. Kaylin Trong gets going. There's her first 3 of the night.
You called it.
You know I did.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you,
man.
man.
You said, yeah. I need a little more. I need to see a little more.
She'll give it to you. She was phenomenal as an off-ball shooting guard last year when she wasn't playing point guard. So she's capable of all that and more. Jensen, nice little jumper that time to get the Thunderbirds going, but they've got quite the hill to climb here in half number 2.
I think if you're Southern Utah right now, obviously you want to chip away at a lead. You want to like get yourself in a position to get back into the game, but I think it's going to be for them just trying to maybe run their offense. I felt like Gonzaga was forcing them to play at a slightly faster pace than they were comfortable with. So I think maybe moving into the second half, we're going to see a little bit more of a set offense from the Thunderbirds.
That's a Kaylin Trong chance to run the offense here with her sister going off ball. Out to Ejim. You know, you said a few minutes ago, Amanda, that as she smiles and laughs her way back down the floor, she finally hit her first 3 as a Bulldog earlier in this game, and she got cocky there. Look at the smile on her face.
I mean, everyone was kind of like smiling and laughing a little bit. Kaylin
she was feeling
like,
herself.
Yeah,
sure,
she was. She looked like right at Kaylin, and Kaylin was just also kind of like laughing a little bit.
Sure.
Hey, I like it, right? You knocked down 1, that builds confidence. That's what I was telling you.
And then missing a 3 also builds character. It keeps you humble.
Exactly.
Hollingsworth, yes, sir. Her first points of the second half. Give her 13 so far.
24 points from 3-point range for Gonzaga in this game.
By the way, and I do want to note this for you because you asked me before the game, Amanda, what is up with the tacos? What is up with the taco chant?
Nobody tells me things.
Gonzaga will hear. So this is your first year with us, so you know Gonzaga women's basketball and men's basketball. If you hit 10 3-pointers in a game, you get tacos. And so they've already got 8. They've got 8, and we're just starting the third quarter. It's going to be taco time in here again for the second straight game.
Tacos for days. I need to know these things. It's important for my hunger.
If you didn't know, now you know. Williamson fed down low. I don't think the away team gets tacos, though, speaking of getting fed. Maybe they do.
I think that they should.
Yeah.
I think it should be tacos for everybody. They should actually just cart tacos in here after the game.
That'd smell pretty good, wouldn't it, man? Never leave. You wouldn't be able to get people out of the arena. It's already hard enough to get out of the parking lot here.
Which is just a credit to the fans here tonight. I just love it. You know, you mentioned like the standing ovations that they're giving. They're so involved, loud, very invested in their team.
It is, in many people's opinion, the best women's college basketball atmosphere on the West Coast. And I don't even think that's a controversial thing to say. I don't think.
We'll have to go to another school on the West Coast, and then it will be, we are the best fans on the West Coast.
Gonzaga, it's not really up for debate. Sure, there are terrific college basketball women's fan bases in other parts of the country, but the West Coast, this fan base has just been around so long.
It is the best coast. Isn't that a thing? The West Coast is the best coast.
But the fan base here for the women's team, it's just in a league of its own. It really is. There's Belena, trapped in the corner. And down to 10 to shoot here for Johnson. She let a couple of threes rip in the first half, but only one went down. Belena over Trong, and the bank's open. That'll get him going. Led the team in assists last year as the point guard, but she can clearly let it go from 3 as well.
Yeah, which is great, right? Like, you want to work on those things. So early on in your season as well, kind of like, once again, build your confidence, get that shot going. But I think what I was noticing on the defensive end from Gonzaga on that last play, look how far out they're forcing Southern Utah to play. They're forcing them to play on the perimeter. We talked about the fact that Southern Utah has size. They didn't even get a touch in the paint on that last possession.
And here's Yvonne Ejim. She'll stay with 13 points. But by the way, what I love, this game is at the moment at least a blowout, and we're approaching the midway point of the third quarter. She's still driving at the rim with so much aggression. Did you see how hard she took it into the lane?
Well, you have to. You know, you can't let up at all. I think that just goes to talk about consistency and not like taking your foot off the gas, whatever that metaphor is.
Sure.
You have to continue to run, to push, to do all of the things that you're expected to do for a whole 4 quarters.
Maud Hybins the up and under. Very nice with the right. One thing I'm interested to ask you, Amanda, about this Gonzaga team is that one is stolen away down low with strong defense. So, we knew coming into the year, right, that they are picked to win the West Coast Conference. BYU graduated all their studs. Portland's a strong number 2. Hybins had it there on the foul, as Trong was on the passing end of it. Really impressive, this Gonzaga team, who did not win the WCC last year, coming into game number 2 here of the season. They're not in the top 25, but they are receiving votes. Knowing they're going into the battle for Atlantis coming up here pretty soon, that's what's really going to tell us how they look against top competition.
Yeah, I know I mentioned it, but I think it's worth saying again. When you play the best in the nation, when you play Louisville, when you play UCLA, Tennessee, these renowned programs, they expose weaknesses within your system that you maybe need to come back and work on before you head into conference play. They also, though, expose what you're good at, what maybe you can build on moving forward. So I think it's just a luxury to really set yourself up in tournaments like that with the best of the best competition.
Coming into this season of the WCC, Gonzaga was obviously by quite a bit the leading vote getter. Portland, people are awfully high on the Pilots, though. Take a look at that. They only got 1 vote for first place, but they seem to be a pretty unanimous second place.
And I think it's just going to be interesting as we continue to move forward. I hate to keep saying it, but like 2 games in, you don't have a full picture of what any team is going to look like 5, 6 games from now. You have an idea. And then guess what? Opponents come and they scout that and they take away exactly what you want to do. So I think that the best teams to me are the ones that can adjust, and they're just steady and consistent.
That game against the Portland Pilots in February here in Spokane, as Hybins misses the shot down low. That is one that is already on everybody's radar to watch in the WCC this year. That is the game.
Well, and you just said it's in February, right? So by that point, yeah, we'll have a pretty good idea of what both of these teams look like and what to expect.
They've been hacking Maud Hybins the last couple of minutes every time she's gotten the ball in her hands in the paint. And this will be Trong to inbound here. And Maxwell ends up on the floor, no foul called. Hybins wants to go back to work, and the follow by Maxwell won't go. Third chance as Trong was looking for Maxwell. Got it knocked away, but again, the aggression that she's coming down the lane with, this is just phenomenal to watch from this team. This is enough to get you excited about what is to come for the rest of the year.
Yeah, 13 offensive rebounds for Gonzaga in this game, 33 through just about 3 quarters.
Yeah, well, not even.
Like we've got time. We've still got time. So they could even pass, like I mentioned, 38 is what they had against Long Beach State. They are well on their way to farly exceed that.
Coach Fortier has got to be happy with what she is seeing so far. And Callie Stokes back in off the bench. They're getting the younger guards some minutes as Callie's there for the rebound. Nearly has it ripped away by Johnston and Lord. And this will stay with Callie Stokes and the Zags.
Really aggressive defense, though, from Hybins as Williamson catches it, right? You have a 6'5" center, and then 6'3" Hybins, so not much of a height difference, but still, when we talk about length, when she gets her arms up, she can shoot over the top of you. I'm just impressed by the way that Gonzaga is crashing the boards right now. They're going for every single rebound.
Next dead ball take us down into our third quarter media timeout. Here's Doherty working the perimeter for space. Maxwell strong around the screen. Using the screens, Belena back to Doherty. Down against Hybins. Keep it in bounds. Open Lord down low. And she's got it off the glass for two.
Nifty little move.
An imperfect play turns into points. That's all you can ask for at this point if you're Southern Utah tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Credit to Lord on that play to recognize that the defense was sliding over.
Sure.
Hesitation move, one dribble, get up to the bucket.
Maxwell, another big three. That is number 9. It is just about taco time here in the kennel.
I think she also maybe wanted a foul on it. She was looking around a little bit like, hello, I need to go for 4.
We had a foul on the play. This one looks like it's going back Gonzaga's way, and that'll take us down into our media timeout here in the third quarter. Gonzaga not slowing down midway through the third. 66-25 on the WCC network on Stadium. Zags up 66-25 midway through the third quarter. We've spent so much time today, Amanda, talking about the folks on the floor for Gonzaga. Let's take a second to talk about someone who's on the bench that is kind of a bummer. Bree Salenby coming into her sophomore year. People thought this would be her potential breakout year, kind of like the one Yvonne Ejim had last year. We still don't know when she's going to be back from that leg injury. We're hoping it's sometime soon.
And I think it's just going to be another player, another addition that Gonzaga can go to, whether it's at some point in the starting lineup or another player to come off the bench. But at 6'2", they're going to have another really solid post player to look at. And Greg, you mentioned to me that last year, with the seniors on the team, she really was able to use that time to develop and grow her game without any sort of pressure to be a primary scorer.
No, that's absolutely true. When we talked to the coaching staff about Bree at the beginning of last year, they said the nice thing is we are such a senior-heavy team that we can afford to just let her take her time, and we can afford to just let her grow into the natural player that she should be and not fit her into a spot that doesn't work. Now, coming into the question is, will she be back in time for this year? If not, then coming into next year with, say, Callie Stokes and Peyton Muma, would she be a swing too? What role would she play? If she plays this year, it will likely be someone off the bench, kind of in the mold of a Brenda Maxwell. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully she's back sooner rather than later. Man, what an up and under from Eliza Hollingsworth.
Aggressive, competitive. The Zags not letting up at all. They're just continuing to build on the consistency that they have shown through 3 quarters in this game.
And Esther Little over the scores table. She'll come in at the next dead ball. Nice tip away by Mott Hybins. We talked so much at the beginning of this game about Gonzaga's ability, about Southern Utah's ability to collapse. The Zags have been doing it really well since then. Here's Maxwell. And back gets a Caitlin Trong. Love they're taking time trying to run some plays here. It's practice at this point. Hollingsworth, no. Foul on the floor down on the post.
That's a great point, though, that you make, right? At this point, you have the opportunity with the lead that you have. Obviously, you want to keep playing hard. You want to compete. But it's a great moment to try some of what you have been working on in a live game situation against an opponent that doesn't know what you're going to be running.
Right, run some plays, run some sets. This is a good opportunity for both teams with the next, 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Here's Belena, in case you weren't with us at the beginning of the broadcast, from Kent, Washington. And now here's Doherty, who's from Vancouver. They recruit Washington pretty heavily, actually, out of Southern Utah. Tipped away by Ejim. So we'll go back to GU. I'll tell you what's really nice, actually, and I don't think this is just because Gonzaga has such a big lead here, Amanda. it looks to me like Lisa Fortier is really making an effort and was actually pretty early in the game to incorporate Callie Stokes, Peyton Muma, even some of the secondary bench players, not the immediate ones off the bench. I think she doesn't want to get kind of stuck into just playing 7 players.
No, and you cannot, if you want to play a fast-paced game, you have to, I mean, just think about it. Not everyone is going to be without any fouls or like not in foul trouble. We haven't seen any of it in this game, but we have to be able to consider what could come up. A player gets into foul trouble. Someone gets incredibly tired.
Or hurt.
Like, you just don't know what's going to happen, and you have to be able to go to your bench if this is the style that you want to play. And so I think that we're just going to continue to see different minutes from different players, and I wouldn't be shocked if, like, it looks different per opponent.
That makes sense. Well, we have some teams in the WCC that like to shoot crazy amounts of threes. We have some that like to run. It's a really diverse basketball conference, at least in terms of the styles that the women's teams like to play.
Yeah, and I personally have never been one that's like super set on a starting lineup, right? Like, I think the starting lineup says, like, who's our opponent? Let's see how this goes, right? And then we adjust in game based on what they're showing.
I would not be surprised if we see a little bit of that attitude, especially over the next few weeks for the Zags, especially in Atlantis.
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity against some of the best programs across the nation to just try new things.
I think there's a chance we see Brenna Maxwell make a start here sooner rather than later, considering how great she's been.
Yeah, and I think it, too, does come down to, like, who's your opponent? Are they a 3-point shooting team? Do they primarily want to hit the post? Are they more of a defensive-minded team? Like, all of that factors in to the minutes that each player plays. Like, right now, obviously, they have a very cushioned lead, so we're seeing extended minutes from multiple different players on Gonzaga's team. But I think moving forward, those extended minutes are going to come based off of the scout.
True in all likelihood. That's one of the interesting things about this starting lineup to me. I would be fascinated to see as the year goes on if we really do see both of the Trong twins. One more coming here for Williamson. If we see both Trong twins starting throughout the year together. I think there's a chance in some of these games they bring Kaylin off the bench. You never know.
Yeah, and it could be to their advantage, right? Like, it could be, hey, guess what? This team probably scouted for this. Let's throw them off. Let's do this. And then adjust based off of what happens in a live game situation. I think that, to me, that's one of the most important parts of a successful basketball program, is just to be able to adjust to what is taken away from you, because that is the job of your opponent.
Sure. To
take away exactly what you want to do.
Here's Esther Little working on Johnston. Ejim. Nice fake at the elbow, up and under, no good. Strong rebound by the freshman center out of Boise, Ashley Banks. We have not seen the 3 center lineup yet from Southern Utah. We might in the 4th quarter just to see what goes on, just for fun. They threatened to put 3 out there to start the game. Williamson on the roll, didn't go down to her. 5 to shoot in the quarter. Doherty, gotta put it up. Does in the lane, shot won't go, and that is the end of 3 in Spokane. And the Bulldogs are bulldozing 72-30 on top of Southern Utah on the WCC Network on Stadium. Start the 4th quarter on the WCC Network. Zags 72, Southern Utah 30. Let's take one more look at the upcoming non-conference schedule for this Gonzaga team. Nice big crowd here. You got to think, Amanda, some of these people are here because they know that the Zags aren't back until Thanksgiving weekend against Eastern Washington, but also they're at Stephen F. Austin in the early December. That's a really good team who was here last year. And then you can't forget December 4th. It's all been building to that rematch with Stanford.
And Gonzaga loves to play Stanford. It's a matchup we've seen over and over again. And I think that it's, you know, kind of what I was talking about with the Battle of Atlantis. It's the exact same thing. Stanford is one of those programs, as Greg, I got to tell you, he's got his arms up. It's taco time with the 10th 3-pointer of the night.
Don't let my arm motions and my
Hey,
enthusiasm.
you got me
Get the
excited
bet.
though.
Here
Yeah,
we
look
go.
at that Taco Bell.
Second straight game, Long Beach State, now Southern Utah. It's taco time in the kennel. That's what they say. Anyway, please continue.
I was just going to say, Stanford, though, is also one of those teams that is so consistent, that is so steady, which is what I talked about being such an important part of any basketball program. And so I think to have the luxury of time and time again playing them, they do exactly what we talked about the Battle of Atlantis will do, which is show Gonzaga exactly what they maybe still need to do before moving into, you know, late January and then February, where you really by that time should know what your team is.
Well, no doubt about it. And truly one of the best things about what Lisa Fortier has done here, following in the mold of Kelly Graves before here in this more recent era of Gonzaga women's basketball, is they kind of took the lead from what head coach of course, the men's team, Mark Few, has done for so long, which is we will play the biggest games that we get offered any time, any place. We'll play those big boys, always.
And you should. You know, like, some teams won't do that. And I think that when you are willing to put yourself in situations where maybe it's not going to be like a 40-point win, right? Like when you put yourself in a situation where you want it to be a competitive basketball game, you are just setting yourself up for success for later games down the road.
Nice performance here by our cheerleaders. Full house in the McCarthy Athletic Center for the second straight women's basketball game. It wasn't a sellout against Long Beach State, but it was pretty close. Huge crowds here. Again, Thanksgiving weekend, if you are in the area, that's going to be a nice full house again against Eastern Washington. Nobody's got to love that rivalry. Love that they keep playing that year after year. It's wonderful.
It's going to be fun. This is already incredibly fun if you're a Gonzaga basketball fan. You have to be excited about what's to come, so get here.
It's going to be a great season based on what we have seen these first two games, no doubt about it. Here's Belena, tipped away by Trong. She'll bring it back. She's looking for Peyton Muma, who's just in off the bench, and here she comes. The redshirt freshman, just a little bit long. And she'll try. Oh, she thought about trying again. One thing you love about Peyton Muma when she gets to play, which she will increasingly as the years go by, just the energy she brings and the joy that she plays with as Trong nails another three. That's number 11.
So I feel like it should be like you know when you get like time and a half, I feel like it should be like tacos times 2. So you should get
with
2
a drink
tacos.
or a drink.
Yeah, like something. You know what I'm
Or salsa.
Yeah, I'm on to something here.
Unlimited salsas. Down low, Williamson, you bet. She's been a bright spot for Southern Utah tonight. Give her 12 points now and 7 rebounds. Just the rest of the offense has not found a way to do anything.
Through the first half, though, I would say that the whole roster was a little quiet on the offensive end, but credit to Gonzaga's defense for really taking away what they wanted to do, which was consistently hit players like Williamson in the post.
Muma so highly recruited coming out of Colorado in high school. This is the first year we're really getting to see her play because she took the red shirt last year. But what's so funny about watching Peyton Muma even just be on the bench and out in warm-ups last year was the personality and joy she brings to just being around the team. Imagine what that's going to be like next year when she's probably the starting point guard. It's going to be infectious to watch how this team plays.
I think you just described a leader.
I think that's part of the reason they recruited her, at least to play point guard. Here she is on the inbounds. Got to get rid of it. Trong, another three. No. Southern Utah didn't know who's going to rebound that ball. They all stood around waiting. All right, inside 8 minutes to go here in Spokane, and the Zags continue to roll. Nicely executed play until it was tipped away. And Burton and Ejim there to collect. What a pass, a little bit slow to Peyton Muma. Love the look, though. The Zags are pushing that play. They've run it a couple of times.
And I think that it's going to be one that we continue to see as another steal.
Peyton Muma on the other end. And the redshirt freshman with the smile back down the other way.
This is the style, though. that we're just going to continue to see game after game from this Gonzaga basketball team. I think it starts on the defensive end. I loved that last play from Ejim to get in the passing lane, knowing that the ball was coming into the post, right? It's just knowing your rotation and doing your job.
Destiny Burton came down from that play surprised they called the foul. I don't know how she's surprised they called the foul. Definitely got the body on that one, but boy, Peyton Muma, what a nice finish.
And this was kind of a key point coming into the game. Obviously, they have a very large lead, so it's not like they're in desperate need of a basket. No. But coming, into this game, we talked about the fact that Southern Utah, yes, they turn over the ball at a high rate, get into the passing lanes, read the play. And that's exactly what they have done consistently throughout this game. I think that's what I'm most impressed with.
Speaking of turnovers here, as Doherty has another free throw to come. I know we've still got 7 minutes left. 21-8, your turnover ratio at the moment. Nearly 3 times for Southern Utah.
And I think any time that you can have your turnover number be under 10 is solid.
Trong around and off. Love that they keep trying. Peyton Muma getting the future point guard incorporated.
You keep saying that name.
I know. She's going to be so
yes,
good
absolutely.
in the future. She's on her way. And here she comes again. We probably have another 6.5 minutes to see what she can do against a really competitive team. This is going to be good to see for the future.
Yeah, and it's a benefit of, playing competitive non-conference games. We're just going to continue to maybe see minutes from her as we move through the non-conference schedule. But really, when you talk about, someone who may eventually be running that point guard position, this is an awesome opportunity to really build your confidence and kind of get you set in running a system.
She'll get called on the body foul there. She won it pretty hard against Doherty, who's from Vancouver, Washington, by the way, also in state. Maxwell back in off the bench. Hollingsworth back in off the bench. And listen to that cheer for Peyton Muma headed back to the bench. Everyone is impressed with what they just saw over the last 6 or 7 minutes.
And I know we're talking about next year with her, but I think that, this season as well, you kind of mentioned it, Greg. What if there's injuries? Yeah. What if there's foul trouble? There's situations that we just can't predict, and it's going to be important to have another ball handler, someone who can run that point position, step in, and just kind of make it like no one even checked out.
Now, she and Kaylee Trong are different types of point guard,
sure,
to be sure. But, you're absolutely right, because no one expected Kaylee Trong to get hurt, even if it was just for, 2 or 3 weeks last year. Nobody saw it coming, and it did kind of throw a wrench into what the team was doing before WCC play as Maxwell delivers the 12th 3 of the day.
Unlimited. What are those little churro things that Taco Bell has? You know what I'm talking about?
I do, but I forget the name.
Okay, same. But I feel like now it should be like tacos, a free drink, and unlimited
with every
dessert.
Every additional 3.
Yeah. I'm telling you. If you're listening to this,
and you work for Taco Bell corporate.
You work for Taco Bell. I'm onto something.
Taco Bell corporate
Contact
office.
Me.
Call us.
You can sponsor me.
Sure. That'll take us down to our last break of this game. 85-34 Zags. We'll put a bow on this one after the break on the WCC Network on Stadium. Britta Maxwell, her second straight game, Amanda. Double digits off the bench. She had 14 and 6 against Long Beach State. She's already got 11 and 6 tonight in just 18 minutes. Who knows if she'll eventually be starting? She very well may. Either way, she has incorporated herself as a key member of this team immediately after her transfer.
And this is a position that I would say she's very comfortable in, coming off the bench as that sixth person. That is the role that she kind of took on at Utah. Previously, from her freshman season, she had started. And then, ultimately, she came off the bench and was still able to be a production piece. She is kind of like that offensive scorer. If you need a basket, give it to Maxwell. I think we're just going to continue to see her grow, improve. I mean, she already looks so comfortable with this team. They play exactly the style that she fits into, which is fast and quick. Let's run and shoot. But I think it's a real luxury for them to be able to have options, right? You talked about they could move her into the starting lineup. She's comfortable. She's been in that position before. Or you can continue to bring her off of the bench.
This is going to be a team as the season gets going. That versatility is going to be one of the things that they consider a hallmark.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like when you don't necessarily know what a team is going to do every single game. You know they're going to come out. They're going to be consistent. They're going to be steady. They're going to play their style. But it's going to come from different players, not necessarily just one or two that are those production pieces. That is easy to guard. That
is one of the things that Gonzaga was phenomenal about in last year's team, Amanda.
Yeah.
Because you had, of course, you had the Trong sisters. You had Abby O'Connor, who transferred in from Loyola Chicago, I think it was. There was, of course, Melody Kempton. Anyone could go off at any time. And again, look at this briefly here. We'll talk about the stats we have tonight for Gonzaga. Already 5 players in double figures, one of which, by the way, on the bench is Michaela Williams, who only took 4 shots in game 1 against Long Beach State. So truly, there are going to be about 7 players on this Zags team this year who could go for double figures any night.
Right, because I think it's worth noting right on the other end, we talked about as an opponent, you want to take away whoever you're playing, their strength. Well, Tamika Whitman has been scoreless throughout this game.
Still.
So that is a player that coming into this game, Gonzaga knew, okay, this is their leading scorer. We have to take away her ability to shoot the basketball, to drive to the rim, to do all the things that she wants to. So to have multiple other players on your team that you can look to in moments when teams scout you, they take away some sort of offense that you want to go to, it's almost like impossible to guard, because what do? Okay, we take away this rotation. Oh my gosh, that player scores. Like, it's so difficult.
Moving back in to run the point. Esther Little, Destiny Burton as well. Maxwell off the inbound, nicely knocked away. Here comes Peyton again. Man, look at the ball handling skills. Are you kidding me? Maxwell out to Muma. Always looking to pass to Burton, and she'll get fouled, and she'll get 2.
She had the open 3.
Yeah.
But instead, I love the fact that she wanted to break down the defense, drew them over, and then found her teammate.
And the between the legs crossover, her ball handling is really terrific. This game is getting these fans here excited about Peyton Muma, is what this game is doing.
Well, and once again, I think it's just a benefit to be able to play these extended minutes, to get comfortable in the point guard position, because there will be, in moments, potentially times where that is her role this season.
Burton can't get the free throw to go. 3.5 minutes left to go in this one. And Esther Little, the 6'2" guard out on the wing, but they left Tranier wide open. Shot won't go, second chance, no. Third opportunity around and in from Lizzie Williamson. She and Belena, the 2 double figures scorers tonight for Southern Utah, 14 and 11. And here's Burton. And Callie Stokes got pushed to the floor. That'll be an off-the-ball foul by Southern Utah. She gets up okay, thankfully for her. The fouls haven't been that bad tonight. That's one thing that is, I would say, pretty heavily appreciated, right? We haven't seen an overly aggressive game, especially in the second half. It's been kind of a blowout.
And because of that, there hasn't been like a reason for necessarily a player to check out, right? Like sometimes early on, I always say if you have like 3 fouls in the second quarter, probably maybe need to come out for a little bit.
Yes.
It's kind of like that one more than the quarter. I probably need to take a step back for just a minute. But really, there hasn't been any of that in this game, and so I think that that is just a benefit to be able to, look back at the film and say we played a clean defensive game against an opponent that has incredible size.
Now 12 points on the night for Maxwell, going for 13. Oh, she's got it. 14 against Long Beach State, 13 tonight. And she'll head to the bench after a pretty terrific performance.
But to be able to say that every time someone has checked out
Right.
is just like circling back to what we've been talking about this whole game, which is depth, consistency, trying, extended minutes, like just doing different things. And I think that is just really important to do in non-conference.
And there's Belena for 2. There were 13 points on the evening. Pretty impressive considering she's not their leading scorer. Led the team in assists last year, but the way they've locked down Whitman and some of the other key scorers, for Belena to go off the way she has, she's got something to be proud of tonight.
Absolutely.
And here she is again with about 2 minutes to go tonight in Spokane. Johnston looking. This is Jensen. Went for the open bank, couldn't find it, the freshman. And Little on the takeaway. Zags have not scored in 3.5 minutes. They slowed down. Can't imagine they're going to hit the century mark. And a charge on Destiny Burton. She took Lord down to the floor.
Unfortunately, during this period of time, right, where you talk about the scoring drought for Gonzaga, Southern Utah, they just haven't converted on the opportunities that they've had on the offensive end.
So again, this is your last chance to watch this women's basketball team until the Eastern Washington game on the 26th. We look forward to seeing you back here then. I know it's Thanksgiving weekend, and I know you've got, I don't know, other things to watch maybe.
What?
I know the Gonzaga men's team doesn't play that day, so there's no reason you can't be here, folks, is what I'm saying.
In general, you should be here anyway.
There's nowhere else to be, is the point I'm making in Spokane. If you're in the area, this is where you should be. Johnson got to get rid of it. 2 to shoot. Muma takes it away, and here she comes. She's got 4 points. Make it 6.
14 steals in this game for Gonzaga.
So 14 out of the 23 turnovers have been steals. That's really something.
Yeah, it's reading. It's defensive pressure. It's knowing to get into the passing lane. There's such an awareness you have to have on the defensive end to have those numbers. Like, steals are not just like an easy thing to do. You have to be able to read plays, and they're really doing a phenomenal job of just that.
Stokes with the right, absorbs contact, nearly got it to go on the wrong side of the body. And she'll get 2 free throws here with inside a minute to go.
You know, I always laugh sometimes where, I don't know if you ever like watch something or you hear something, it's like, we need to steal, we need to steal. That's not like an easy thing to do. Your opponent is like, what? I'm not just going to give you the basketball. Right. You have to be able to make the read first. And I think that, you know, not overplaying is something that is easy to do when you want to be aggressive defensively, right? Because then it's like, bam, hit the backdoor cut. Bam, some sort of like fake, rotate. You have to have an awareness on the defensive end to put up these kinds of numbers.
Can't get the free throws to go, but still 4 good points for Callie Stokes tonight in off the bench. By the way, for what it's worth, the point breakdown, Gonzaga did not let up tonight, including their bench players. 31 in the first quarter, 21 in the second quarter, 20 in the third, 19 in the fourth.
Can we talk about, to build on that though, the fact that in all of these quarters, Southern Utah has not scored more than 15 points?
Yep. Well, and tell me if I'm wrong as I look. Yeah, only one quarter had more than 10 points.
Yeah. So defensively, looking at this game, I'm just so impressed by what they were able to take away from Southern Utah, their strength of getting their bigs involved.
This will be the last possession as Muma and then Hybens hold on to it. We weren't sure about this one. We thought this game might have upset potential. It did not. Gonzaga 91, Southern Utah 38, and an absolute shellacking. We'll take a quick commercial break, and then we're back with a post-game show and a lot more on the WCC Network on Stadium. Well, you never know how a college basketball game is going to go. It is one of the more lovely but weirder sports in the sports world. Came into this game tonight in the McCarthy Athletic Center thinking we had upset potential because of how good Southern Utah looked in their first game of the season against New Mexico. Didn't end up being that way tonight. Greg Talbot, Amanda Smith, what was it, 91-38? The final score tonight, Amanda, we had 5 Zags in double figures. Hard to choose a player of the game, but it's Eliza Hollingsworth.
Such a luxury when it's like a difficult decision to pick who the player of the game is, but no doubt that Eliza Hollingsworth was so crucial offensively and defensively for Gonzaga in this win. You know, someone that is being looked at as a leader on this team this year. 17 points, 5 of 9 shooting from the floor. I'm so impressed and just really excited to continue to see what she is able to bring to this Gonzaga program.
Yvonne Ejim, also great. Michaela Williams, really a phenomenal second game after a tough first game. Also, I'm not going to stop saying this name until someone stops me. Peyton Muma.
Don't stop.
So great off the bench. And Brenda Maxwell. This was just, in some ways, kind of a massacre, but truly just a fun one to watch because this is the kind of game that gets you excited about a team.
Yeah, I think that with the style of play that Gonzaga is going to play this year, which is fast, which is quick, they want to run the basketball, they want to be scrappy on the defensive end and then push in transition. You have to have players, you have to have depth that can come in, that can play extended minutes, but also kind of give those players who are playing those extended minutes a little bit of a break here and there. So just a luxury to have.
Let's take a look at some of these post-game stats that we have for you. Once again, the field goal percentage, that'll just knock your socks off, especially considering they didn't really let up that much in the second half. Gonzaga shoots just about 50%. Again, man, the three-point percentage, Southern Utah never got it going.
And I think, you know, when we just look at points in the paint for a team in Southern Utah that we talked about being so aggressive in the paint, having players, having bigs that can put up those kinds of numbers, holding them to just 22 from the inside. And then let's circle to Gonzaga. Points off of turnovers, 31 for the Zags, as opposed to just 3 points off of turnovers scored from Southern Utah. 9 turnovers from Gonzaga in this game. I mentioned it earlier, and I'll say it again. Anytime you can have a number under 10, that's a win to me.
24 turnovers tonight for Southern Utah. Let's take a look at the non-conference schedule at Wyoming, then in the Bahamas for a trip. That'll be nice for them. They're not back again until Thanksgiving weekend. That is Saturday of Thanksgiving against Eastern Washington. Always such a fun local rivalry. Then Maine, then back on the road for a while. I would try to get to some of these games when you can in late November because they're not here that much until around Christmas break, honestly.
But this is going to be a really exciting time to just continue to build on what they are doing, which is, yes, this team looks similar. Like, a lot of the players are the same on this Gonzaga team. They only have 2 new players on their roster, but they lost 4 starters.
Right.
And I think that that's, like, such an important piece that maybe we didn't even touch on enough in this game, is that they lost, like, 4 crucial players and still did this?
Yeah.
Come on.
So Wyoming awaits, followed by the battle for Atlantis. Then they're back home in a couple more games to get ready for the Stanford Cardinal. Man, it is going to be a fun season for Gonzaga women's basketball, but it was fun tonight, and it's the kind of night that will get you excited. The Bulldogs roll 91-38. We'll see you next time. For Amanda Smith and the rest of our network crew, I'm Greg Talbot saying thank you so much for being with us tonight as the Zags roll on the WCC network on Stadium.